And the dead leaves lie huddled and still, no longer blow hither and thither. The last lone aster is gone, the flowers of the witch hazel wither. The heart is still aching to seek, but the feet question whither. The man went by the name Carl Draga. He was born in the city of New Haven, Connecticut, a place that never sleeps, a place that's always bustling, always busy. Born to a family of immigrants, he never truly fit in, not there or the place he moved. Coos County, New Hampshire, known for being the total opposite of New Haven. Quiet, even lonely, tight-knit groups of people.
The truth is, life here can be pretty difficult, especially for someone who's not from here. The North Country, it offers a lot, but it takes a lot, especially for someone from a town like New Haven, in a state of Connecticut. I can't imagine you would have had a very good time here.
In my experience, Northern New England, more than anyone else, requires so much effort to break into these preconceived friend groups. This would be compounded by the fact that he's already advanced in age. He'd already lost his wife, and it's likely that he didn't have any friends before moving up here.
Even before then, however, Draga was known to the town. He would often carry a shotgun with him to the supermarket whenever he went shopping. He was known as a typical loner, and the town knew it.
A key part of the incident, of course, and one of the major inspirations, was a series of anti-government, militia-inspired activity that had taken place in the early 90s. Either in retaliation for, or the inspiration of, these events, depending on who you ask, were a series of actions by the government that were even more heinous. These were high-profile, heavily covered cases. However, this incident had far less coverage than those.
So many of these cases had so much public record available from them, so many photos, so many eyewitnesses, so many articles. You would think that this incident resulted in 4 homicides that were a personal grudge, that were motivated by a personal grudge against law enforcement. It would be more widely covered, but it wasn't. Waco, Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City bombing, and Carl Draga. All of these tied together into a picture of the 1990s, marked by high-profile events, massacres, bombings, people angry at the government, and the government taking it out on many others. Outside of Colebrook and Coos County in general, this shooting still remains widely unknown, unheard of even, by some areas.
Draga's grudges were not just political, they were personal as well. His house was on a riverbank in the town of Bloomfield, just south of Colebrook. Here he'd had some disagreements with the town officials, including Vicky Bunnell, who was responsible for some tax collecting purposes for the town. He had in fact fired shots at her while she came to inspect his property.
By that point, however, Draga had become the ire of the community. He had become a pariah. In a small town like Colebrook, he would never fit in again. Draga then began stockpiling. He bought guns, ammunition, bullet-resistant vests. He would go on to purchase alarms, detectors, all sorts of devices to protect his property. He also did something else. He bought a lot of fertilizer, and he made bombs to booby-trap his house, preparing for what was to come, a massacre.
At this point, Draga could have chosen a life of peace. He could have complied with the town ordinances and gone on with his life. But the political environment at the time had heated up, and it fed into the fire of his social incompetence, his stunted growth. And one day, it all combusted, all at once. From northeast Vermont to northwest Maine, the police presence is minuscule, and was much less at the time. To put it simply, they were not prepared for what was to come.
It was 2:30 p.m., August 19th, 1997, in the parking lot of La Pearl's IGA in Colebrook, New Hampshire. A man named Carl Draga had just been pulled over for having a truck with too much rust on it. What happened next would shock the audience to their core.
New Hampshire State Trooper Scott Phillips was the first to be fired upon. He managed to drive into a local field before he was killed by Draga. Trooper Leslie Lord, however, didn't make it that far. He was gunned down before he could even get out of the car, and Draga, stealing a police cruiser, began his attempted escape. Now a district judge, Vicky Bunnell, was ambushed by Draga on the street, and a bystander by the name of Dennis Jews was gunned down trying to stop this. Draga then went on the run, barreling down these dirt roads till he finally came to a stop. He had decided to burn down his property before, again, resuming the chase to Bloomfield, Vermont, just over the border, where he finally met his end. A gunfight ensued. Another state trooper by the name of Saunders was shot, but this time not fatally. Draga was finally put down with both a shotgun and an M14 at approximately the same time. I did attempt to visit his grave in Northumberland. His burial plot is listed online. I, however, could not find it. And while spending about an hour looking for this grave, I did meet someone completely by chance. One of the responding officers involved in the incident, now retired. He told me a little bit about the friends that he lost on that day, about the people in the communities that were broken apart, and I felt a little bit of guilt for what I was filming here. But, after all, the story must be told. I started this project, which took me quite a bit of time and effort to make, thinking that the shooting was simply an interesting historical event that happened a long time ago with no correlation to me, and I would use it on my YouTube channel simply to film a mock shooting and LARP around in the woods a little bit. But I think I actually grew during this project. I think my perspective has changed. I don't like cops. I don't like tax collectors or judges. But these are human beings. These are your neighbors. I see two reasons why it's so important to find someone to care about. One is because you need it. You're a human. You're a social animal. And you need contact with others. And the second reason is you never know when it's going to be your or a loved one's last day on this earth. Thank you and goodbye.